against the wall. I'm never giving up, I give my all. I'm never looking back, attack, it's in the past. Stand up, stand up, stand up. You ain't ready for me. Give me your best shot, the stronger I stand. Not looking for a step.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is the return to Twitch. This is ZFG Podcast presenting ZFG Radio, the Twitch return. And ladies and gentlemen, it has been a hellacious time since you've been gone. We've been kicking it off on our YouTube. We are also recording this episode, so this will air on YouTube with our intro and everything like that. Tomorrow, at this time, it will be December 7th when this airs on YouTube, but this is airing live exclusively on Twitch. You get the live, unedited, raw edition of this podcast. I am Zero, as always. I am with the Queen Liana Rose. You can follow her on TikTok at the Queen Liana Rose. She's
the
one
Queen Liana
Rose. She's there every day at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
I'm there temporarily on Tuesdays and Wednesdays.
You know?
I also have a mouthful of food.
That's the way we love it.
So I'll be announcing my radio dates soon, but for now I'm just going to be on sparsely, but you can check that out by following me on TikTok, the one Queen Liana Rose. TheoneQueenLianarose.
Exactly. What she said. We're going to be live every Tuesday, every Wednesday. So the thing
you're going to be live every Tuesday and Wednesday, not me.
ZFG Radio is going to be exclusively live on Twitch every week. We're going to try to do that, but the stack is going to be a YouTube exclusive. So to see that, you have to be a part of our YouTube channel. So follow us on YouTube, and the link will be in the description below. And as always, follow that, hit that subscribe button, that follow button, and check out our merch. So before it begins, I do want to throw out some ads. We are sponsored today by Twist, the premier e-liquid. I am hitting the Pink Punch #1 right now, and it is a phenomenal e-liquid vapor product. I'm hitting the 6 milligram, 60 ml bottle right now, and as always, kids, this is not for you. This is for adults 21 and up federally, as nicotine. This product does contain nicotine, and nicotine is always an addictive chemical. So, we're going to kick things off today. Obviously, this is the return to Twitch. I'm very happy to be back on Twitch. It has been a long time since I've been able to show some Twitch love. It's been a long, hard road to get back to Twitch, but finally, after having a successful phone that works, I'm no longer a bum. I have a phone. It is a great time, as always, to be a part of this series, be a part of Twitch and YouTube, as always. I'm very happy to be a part of Twitch and YouTube. I'm very grateful that those platforms have been able to help me out in being able to let me use it as a platform for these podcasts, for my gaming channels, and stuff like that. But we're going to kick things off, guys. It has been a long time. What is up, Heg? Thank you for being here, buddy. As always, if you guys have any questions, all you got to do is drop it in the comment. John Boy SBSC, thank you for the follow. Drop it in the comment, and we will be responding to those questions using hashtag AskZFG, hashtag ClickThis. As always, I love the Click This podcast. Follow that on youtube.com. Search bar, Click This, Kevin Ash, Sean Oliver, also on ad-free shows. But let's kick it off with some stuff that I want to talk about. earlier in the week, I was listening to the Jim Cornette Experience on Spotify and Amazon Music and anywhere you get your podcasts. And normally I just listen to it for the background knowledge. Heck, thank you for subscribing. I normally just listen to it for background noise because I love Jim Cornette's voice. But he was talking about an interview that Tony Khan had with The Ringer on TheRinger.com. And, Heck, thank you for the follow. And it blew my mind because before I get into it, I just want you guys to know that me and Leon have been doing e-wrestling, e-fetting for... I've been doing it for 10 plus years. Liana, how long have you been rocking the e-fetting?
Since 2000.
Yeah, so 22 years you've been rocking the e-fed world. Tony Khan came out on The Ringer and said that e-fetting led him to where he is in being a professional wrestling booker. It gave him the reps he needed. And as a guy that ran an e-fed since 2013, I fell on the floor laughing. So I want to know your initial reaction when you hear that statement that e-fetting gave him the reps he needed to be a professional wrestling booker. I want to know your out-the-gate thoughts.
Well, I was in the real-life wrestling business before I was an e-fedder, so e-fetting just gave me the creativity, but at the same time, I'm just like, I don't know what to think of Tony Khan. I don't have an opinion on Tony Khan other than he owns I know who his dad is because I'm a Jacksonville Jaguars fan.
Hello, motherfucker.
So I know who the Khan family is, and I know that he's a spoiled little rich boy.
Yeah.
That's all he is to me. Daddy bought him a wrestling company.
In the middle of your comment, Heg played a audio thing that I have on Twitch where it goes, "Hello, motherfucker," in the middle of that. So that was funnier than initial. But yeah, no, Tony Khan's dad does own the Jacksonville Jaguars, and Tony Khan's got his hands in a lot of things regarding sports and stuff like that. They own a soccer team, a football team, AEW, and a couple other things. But it just blows my mind that e-wrestling gave me the reps I needed to be a professional wrestling booker. That blows my mind. And speaking of Tony Khan, back it all out, CM Punk wins the All Elite Wrestling World title from Jon Moxley, puts him to sleep.
Hello, motherfucker.
John Boy playing hello, motherfucker, thank you. When he puts him to sleep, they have a media scrum, and afterwards CM Punk gets into a fist fight with the Elite. They all end up suspended. The Elite made their return at Full Gear. Well, with the Elite back, they are in a best-of-7 series for the Trios Championship against the Death Triangle. Death Triangle are up 2-1 right now. They'll be going into match 4, I believe, next Wednesday night on Dynamite. Not tomorrow night, but next Wednesday night. Or if you're hearing this on the 7th, later tonight, it will be next week, the week of the 14th, when that match happens. Match 4 of the best-of-7. A lot of people are like, this is a shoot. Punk's actually going to leave. They've been talking about this for months, whether or not they're going to do the CM Punk contract buyout. A few questions going into that before I ask my initial question. The rumor mill is that CM Punk's contract is worth $30 million. As an owner, do you buy that contract out and sit him for however long he was looking to... Well, I mean, no, if you buy it out, he has to do the 90-day non-compete. If there is a non-compete, because we have not heard of any AEW wrestler having a non-compete after they leave. So let's say that they pay him $30 million on a Sunday, and on a Monday, he goes and signs a very lucrative offer with a certain guy with 3 H's in his name, and he goes to a certain company with 2 W's and an E, and he goes and wrestles on a Monday night for another $30 million, or do you sit him for however long and pay him overtime, or do you put him to work and get the money out of him?
There's so much heat on him that I would put him in the ring and have him work.
Exactly, and I mean, you've had this discussion off camera about how, in my personal, when I break it down, CM Punk means more ratings. CM Punk means more money for AEW. Kenny Omega is the best bout machine. He is a fantastic wrestler. There's no question about Kenny
But he's not
Omega's
CM Punk.
son. But he's not. God damn it. John Boy's playing the chicken dance right now in my ears. So I got the chicken dance going on. But, but with that said, chicken noise will keep playing for a minute or so. So we're going to have to play. And then an air horn by Egg. I hate you, Egg. Okay, the air horn's gone. With that said, Punk means more ratings. Kenny Omega means good matches. A lot of people are like, oh, well, with CM Punk in the locker room, it's a toxic environment. Nobody likes him, blah, blah, blah. And that's not actually true. There's been a lot of guys that are like, dude, we actually like CM Punk. These guys just don't like CM Punk. I heard it from Kevin Nash that in the pro wrestling business, and you can attest to this, you can make money or you can make friends. You can't make
I'd
them
like
both.
to make some money. You can't make both.
Exactly. And
I think Hulk said that, and then Kevin Nash picked it up.
Yeah, and if I'm the guys in the AEW locker room who just got their first televised contract, you know, guys like Jungle Boy, guys like the Dark Order, guys like the Best Friends, you know. I mean, Trent's had TV contracts before with the WWE, but let's be honest here, he didn't do anything with it. And you want to make some money. Do you not, like, fucking go, hey, put that guy on TV? Yeah. So, with that said, now everyone they were leaning towards the fact of it being a shoot, it being real. Now they're leaning towards the fact that this may be a work. This just may have been Punk's way of getting his fucking rehab for all of his injuries and shit. Because he was out for 7 years before he came back. He came back, had a solid run, fights for the world title, gets hurt, comes back 3 months later, not even 3 months later, gets hurt again. So now he's got to go have another surgery. I would take the suspension, take the surgery, get rehabbed, come back. While he's been gone, they've also stopped booking FTR, who went on Twitter and said, hey, CM Punk's not that bad of a guy. Now, FTR got heat because it came out that the Young Bucks weren't willing to put them over. So now everyone's thinking, well, Thug Life is now playing in my ear. I love this. Now everyone's thinking that when FTR comes back, CM Punk comes back.
No, God!
And you put CM
God,
Punk and
please,
FTR
versus
the Elite.
No!
And to me, even though somebody just played the Michael Scott, no, God, no, thing in my ear, I'm thinking FTR and CM Punk versus the Elite, this burns the house down. So
Money.
Yeah, that's a big money. That's a big money match. That match right there is $1 million game. So what are your initial thought process on the possibility of Punk and FTR versus the Elite?
I think that, oh, fuck. I just got hockey news. We're live. Fuck it. The captain of the New York Rangers may be getting traded to the Red Wings.
Oh, that's
You know how much that pisses me off?
Yeah, you're a Rangers fan.
Anyways.
But my thought process with the FTR Punk versus the Elite.
You asked me what my thought
saying,
process was,
you
and now it was your. I think it's a really good idea. Like if I were sitting in the back booking with you and you came to me with that idea and said, look, we've got CM Punk on the sidelines and we've got FTR still not there and we've got, the Elite that they've come back and they're, going for the trios titles. Why not put the trios titles on the Elite and then have FTR and Punk face them and make more money?
So, my thing is so when you book CM Punk and FTR versus the Elite, yes, that first match selling out arenas, whether it be Chicago, Madison Square Garden, the Prudential Center, anywhere. But then you can also book FTR versus the Young Bucks, and then you get Punk versus Omega, which those two matches alone are money. Then, hell, you could even do fucking... At this point, you get Punk versus Danielson, Punk versus Joe, Punk versus Jericho again. Having sound alerts go off my ear because of Hag. He's having too much fun with my sound alert, but I'm fixing to time his ass out so he can't do it. But, no, it's just there's a lot of money that could be made with just those 6 guys. And I don't quite understand why they haven't pulled the trigger on any of that yet. Yeah, okay, maybe Punk's a piece of shit. We all knew he was an asshole. It was common knowledge. The CM Punk is an asshole.
Okay, so let me go on record and say, and he can attest to this, I fucking love CM Punk, but I'm well aware how much somebody that's clean and sober, like me, and him being clean and sober all his life, we can be real fucking dickheads.
Yeah, but I mean, this is the same company that also had Nick Gage on. And yes, as much as the indie darling wrestling fans love Nick Gage is a convicted felon who robbed a bank with a mask on. Covington Usman won the greatest and most controversial fight in the history of mankind. Colby Covington and Kamaru Usman was the greatest and most controversial fight in all of the UFC outside of Ken Shamrock and Tito Ortiz, and that's facts. But outside of that, I don't know. There's a problem. They book Nick Gage on TV, but they won't book the Briscoes because of something Jay Briscoe said 10, 20 years ago about gay people. When in 10 years, opinions change. 20 years, people change. All right? Like, you can't hold that against the Briscoes. All right? But the guy that was a convicted felon who robbed a bank without a mask on in the last decade can be put on TV. And a high-profile match against Chris Jericho. I don't quite understand that outlook on it. I don't quite understand the favoritism. But it makes the company look bad. It makes Tony Khan look bad if you don't book CM Punk. And it's a waste of money. Granted, maybe money's not an issue for Tony Khan. Because obviously, like we said, the Jaguars, the soccer team, and everything like that the Khans own. But there also wasn't just the Elite and Punk that were involved in the fight. MJF was there. Jericho was there. Nothing happened to them. And then they also see him. The thing about it that pissed me off the most about this whole thing was Kenny Omega goes out on Twitter and goes, "Hey guys, we need to forget about the Punk thing, all right?" And then he bites Pac to shoot at CM Punk because Ace Steel bit Kenny Omega. Nick Jackson, or Matt, I don't remember which one is which, botches a buckshot lariat to shoot at CM Punk because CM Punk botched the buckshot lariat against Hangman. And then Kenny Omega hits the go to sleep on Pac to shoot on CM Punk. Forget about it, but we're going to do everything we can to be petty. Twinkle Toes and the Hardley Boys do not fucking deserve to be doing that shit because CM Punk makes more money in a day than they've ever seen, all right? You can be the best in the world, but if you're the best in the world making $80,000 while the guy being the best in the world at fucking every 7 years is making millions, who's actually the best in the world at that point? And Kenny Omega has a problem with Will Ospreay, which is why Will Ospreay hasn't got signed by AEW, because Will Ospreay has had more 5-star matches than he's had. Will Ospreay is one match away from having the most 5-star matches in professional wrestling history. One match away. I don't even think you can call Kenny Omega the best bout machine anymore. But speaking of making money, we're going to move on in this episode because I'm tired of talking about Twinkle Toes and the Hardley Boys. The Royal Rumble happens January 23rd, 2023, and before a match is even announced, Liana, this one is going to bring a tear to your eye. Before a single match is announced, before a single superstar declared for the Rumble, the Royal Rumble sold out and broke $5 million at the gate. The most largest grossing Royal Rumble in history. What are your thoughts on that when you hear not even a single match, not a single wrestler is declared for the Rumble, not a single match has been announced, they've already made $5 million at the gate.
They also did it at WrestleMania.
Yeah,
Same
I
thing.
forgot about that. Yeah.
Two nights, WrestleMania. Not a match announced, completely sold out both nights.
And the thing about it is like, do you think that this is because of Triple H, or is it just the time of the year? Because this is WrestleMania season. But what are your initial thoughts on it?
I think it's Triple H. I think it's Triple H, and I think it's his, like, he has Road Dogg and HBK and NXT. He's got his hands all over NXT, and him and Stephanie are running WWE, and from what I've seen so far, pretty good booking. But I mean, I'm not, like, I'm still, I'm still in the 90s.
Well, yeah. So with that said, we've talked about, booking. We watched something earlier today for the first time. The pay-per-view Survivor Series happened a couple weeks back. Me and Liana finally got to sit down and finish the pay-per-view and watch the male War Games match. It was the entire Bloodline versus Drew McIntyre, the Brawling Brutes, and Kevin Owens. Liana, I want your initial thoughts on the match as a whole, some things to pick apart before I pick this match apart completely. Go ahead.
I was really bored until Drew McIntyre came in, because I don't know anybody but Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre and Kevin Owens. I mean, like, and I know who Sheamus is, but I don't know, like, what Sheamus is doing now. And Sami Zayn is very confusing, and I don't know whether he's Usi or not. And I know Jimmy and Jay, my thoughts on them in the ring is, like, they're solid performers, but out of the ring, they're fucking assholes. They're multiple DUIs on both of them. And how they still have contract is beyond me. But anyways, Drew gets in the match and actually starts picking up. And action starts picking up, and I thought the first 20 fucking minutes of it was boring as fuck, because I'm used to War Games. I'm used to my Horsemen, the War Games. And when everybody got in there, well, I will say, before everybody got in there, what's his name? The one that went before Roman.
Oh, Solo.
Huh? Solo. Jesus Christ. What a powerhouse. What a powerhouse.
Sikoa is, I'm not going to say underrated, because it's not fair, because I feel like he gets the amount of, like, he is good. And I'm not going to say that he's underrated, because that's not fair, because they do talk very highly of Sikoa. I just feel like we haven't got to see enough of him, like, in the ring by himself, like we have the Usos. We know how good the Usos are because of their countless tag match wars with the New Day, the New Age Outlaws, every other tag team they've ever stepped in the ring with. How they've constantly evolved, because they used to be face-painted dancers, now they're fucking... Then they were gangsters, now they're part of the Bloodline. The greatest tag team in WWE history. The longest reigning tag team champions of all time. We know how good Roman is, because he's the undisputed Universal Heavyweight Champion. We know how good Sami Zayn is, because I followed Sami Zayn since he was El Generico, so I know how good he is. Solo is WWE born and bred. He's been in the business for 2 years. We haven't got to see much of him. If you've seen him in NXT, yeah, he hung in there with Walter, but he got his ass whipped. You haven't seen him do anything successful, so he is the least successful member of the Bloodline so far. But
they've really let him show out in that War Games match.
Oh yeah, the War Games match was him, because he put Drew through the table with the spinning Solo.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't really take any unnecessary bumps. They didn't make him look weak. They didn't, in my opinion, they didn't do anything stupid to him. You know, they didn't do anything outlandish with him to make him look weak or anything like that, or question the ability of him being in the Bloodline. You know, they didn't make him look like he could be the job guy for him or anything like that. They made him look like a serious threat. And they do call him the enforcer of the Bloodline. And for him to take Drew McIntyre, who just a month and a half ago was fighting the head of the table for the world title, for them to have Solo beat the shit out of him in War Games, makes him look like a serious threat. Now, I'm not going to hop on the Solo Sikoa bandwagon and say Solo could be the guy to drop Roman, because I don't even think it's going to be a Bloodline member who touches Roman. But I think Solo could be a really good IC or US champ. And with the belt off Rollins and around my boy Theory's waist, I think that could be a good feud. But speaking of that, what are your thoughts on the Bloodline from where they were a couple of years ago, back when the Universal title reign began, to now? What are your thoughts on the Bloodline?
Well, I just to let everybody know, I don't, watch WWE on a regular basis. I'm still stuck on my DVDs from the early 2000s and the 90s, and my VHSs from the early 2000s and the 90s. But to establish the Bloodline the way they have, and have it just the continuity of the storyline of the Bloodline has been impressive, to say the least. And I really like the Bloodline story. I'm not a fan of Roman Reigns. I'm not a fan of Jimmy or Jay, but I like the fact that Paul Heyman is grooming them and continuing to groom them to be these dominant, this dominant faction, or, whatever you want to call it. I think it's impressive what they're doing with the Bloodline. And like I said, the continuity is just, it's nice to see that, even with the handoff from Vince to Triple H, that Triple H was like, oh, let's keep this going. And I like it.
I'm very proud on where the Bloodline is from where they began, especially because it was just Roman, and then it was Roman and Paul, and now it's Roman, Paul, Jay, then it was Roman, Paul, Jimmy, then it was Roman, Paul, Jimmy, kind of Sammy, now it's Roman, Paul, Jimmy, Jay, Sammy, and Solo. The question is, where does the Bloodline go from here? And I think obviously you go with the storyline with The Rock, or they add somebody else to it, or they give the US or IC strap to Solo, build that mid-card up of the Bloodline a little bit more. Solo Sikoa did have a very emotional tribute on Raw to Umaga, his uncle. Umaga, of course, died in 2009 of a heart attack due to drug use and weight problems and just overall bad juju stuff. And Umaga meant a lot to the Usos and to Solo, because him along with Rosie and Rikishi trained them boys. And Solo, tapes his thumb and his wrist like Umaga does. And Solo Sikoa was in a brawl with Matt Riddle, picks him up and Samoan spikes him. Bam! And it was a beautiful Samoan spike, and he even looks up, he's got tears in his eyes, because you can tell that was a very emotional tribute for him. And I always like when wrestling royalty shows respect to those who came before. We've seen the Hart family talk about it. We've seen the Hart family do tributes. We've seen like Davey Boy do a sharpshooter. Obviously, it's to tribute Brett. Davey Boy Smith Jr. do stuff to tribute his dad. Obviously, he comes out with the British, the Union Jack, like his dad did. Brian Pillman Jr. with his constant tribute to his dad. Charlotte with everything she does to tribute her dad, even though he's still alive. The fact that wrestling royalty, does tribute those that come before them just makes it mean more to me. Cody with his promos about his dad, Dustin and stuff like that. What does that mean to you? Does that does that make you like that character more? Or does it because you come from the era of tradition and of respect, and to see that kind of still lives in today's age, does that make you feel, better about today's professional wrestling?
Yeah, the ones that I like the most out of all that, I saw the thing about Solo on Twitter, or maybe on rest of all our pro wrestling, or anyways, I saw it and I was like, wow, this is really cool. And Charlotte, she just, everything she does is a reflection of her dad, and Cody, of course, everything he does is, to bring homage to his dad. But to answer your question, I like it a lot. I like that wrestling royalty is paying homage to the people who went before them, and I think it's great for the business, and especially nowadays.
Now we're talking about the wrestling royalty. The son of Umaga, Zila Fatu, 2 hours ago, news broke about him. He is now the newest member of the Reality of Wrestling training school. Reality of Wrestling, of course, owned by Booker T, WWE Hall of Famer. So, as I said 5 minutes ago about adding a new member to the bloodline, Umaga's son, that could be the next big thing. Now, some pro wrestling news did come out. I think it was yesterday or early this morning. Liana, you can correct me here. Barry Windham, having a massive heart attack, is in the ICU, currently still with us on Earth, and we hope for a speedy recovery. Barry Windham, of course, the uncle to Bray and Bo. Bray having a character, Uncle Howdy, that is a tribute to Barry Windham is a very cool thing. Now, we know when Brody Lee died, and Bray Wyatt took it very personal and ended up leaving the wrestling business for over a year. With knowing how much Barry means to him, do you think that this could maybe do a setback for Bray? Or do you think maybe, Bray just continues on?
I think that this is going to adversely affect him. I think it's going to rip his heart out because, when, I didn't get to grow up with any of my uncles and, or my aunts. And to have a family member, be part of the business and to bring you up in the business and teach you everything they know about the business, have a massive heart attack and be in the ICU and then, God forbid, die. I think it's probably already taken a lot out of him. And I think it'll adversely affect him. Yes.
So, here's some wrestling news that I don't want to talk about this, but I have to talk about it because it fits into our podcast. It is true that the pro wrestling business never really sleeps. And a big reason for that these days is unfortunately Conrad Thompson. It is no secret that I despise this man. I hate Conrad Thompson, but he is the voice of wrestling podcast. This man co-hosts 6 wrestling podcasts with pro wrestling legends like Eric Bischoff, Mick Foley, Kurt Angle, Bruce Pritchard. But he's also the guy that created StarCast. And for those of you who don't know what StarCast is, it's like a big Comic-Con for pro wrestling fans.
Yes,
They've
it
had
is.
about, 6 of them now?
Yes.
So,
And I guess how many I've been to?
0.
That's right.
Yeah.
Because I can't fucking afford them.
Yeah, they're fucking stupid. He's also the guy that booked Ric Flair's last match with Jim Crockett Promotions. With that said, he's also hyping up a potential Vince McMahon podcast. And he's also apparently helping Booker T train for his last match and might be booking that. I'm not looking forward to that. But the initial reason I brought up Conrad Thompson because he is planning StarCast 7 in Oceania, I guess, actually. Apparently, AAA is going to be going down there, and because of his partnership with Jeff Jarrett and Jeff Jarrett's relationship with AAA, apparently Conrad might be jumping in on something along that. Ric Flair's Peacock documentary will be coming out. And I believe they actually announced this on Raw. So, it is called, I believe, let me Google this real fast because I saw the name of it on Raw. So let's see here. Yeah, Forever the Man. No, that was in 2017. Oh, okay. Woo! Becoming Ric Flair will be coming to Peacock December 26th, and it is a docu-series about Ric Flair, the 16-time world champion. He tweeted it out December 5th, 2022 on Twitter. Many stories have been told about the Nature Boy over the past 50 years. I'm thrilled to have partnered with WWE and Peacock to produce the most accurate depiction of my life to date and hope audiences enjoy the ride. Woo! Very few people have professional wrestling careers as storied as Ric Flair. We can't wait to give the Peacock audiences the revealing, in-depth, and often raw look into the life of one of sports and wrestling's most controversial icons. So Ric Flair is going to be, it is 120 minutes long, and it will premiere on Peacock December 26th, 2022. And of course, you can also go back in time and watch classic Ric Flair matches, promos, and everything involving Ric Flair on Peacock and the WWE Network everywhere outside of the United States. So thoughts on the Ric Flair documentary?
I'm excited. Because that's going to bring back a shit ton of footage. NWA, Jim Crockett Promotions, when he was the man. Like, I want to see some Harley race, and some, just all the different matches that he had. I'm excited.
So there was a rumor going around that Vince McMahon was going to be joining Conrad Thompson on a podcast, and thank God the wrestling gods have came together and Conrad Thompson has announced that is not happening. So thank God for that. William Regal leaving AEW after this past Wednesday when he takes a shot to the back of the head from Maxwell Jacob Friedman, a generational talent, and he happens to be better than you. And you know it. Yeah. He lays out William Regal on AEW, and apparently William Regal will be heading back to WWE. And a lot of people were asking, how is this even possible? Apparently, in his contract, he had a clause in there that stated that if Triple H ever got the full power in WWE, he would be able to opt out of his contract and go work back with the WWE. So that comes to question. We know the storied history of Triple H and William Regal. We know it goes back to the days of WCW and maybe even before then. That's got to mean a lot to Triple H that this guy had a good deal in AEW. He really wasn't doing anything, major. I mean, he was the manager of the Blackpool Combat Club. He got to do some commentary. He was doing the MJF thing, and then he was just like, oh, Triple H is in power? I'm fucking done. I'm going back. To just wipe his hands like that and be like, dude, hit me in the back of the head, call it a night, I'm gone. Do you think it was a good idea in Ric Flair's part, or not Ric Flair, wow, William Regal's part, to just dip out and be like, deuces, I'm out?
Depends on what the future holds in WWE. Depends on what they're going to do with him. If he's just going to be in a backstage role, then it's a stupid idea. But if it's going to be in a more like on-screen role, like the general manager of NXT or whatever, then it's good because William Regal is, people know who he is. Even younger fans know who William Regal is. And I want to see him get a world title run. But I know he's too old for that.
You want to see Regal get a world title run in 2000? He can't wrestle.
I know that. I just said that.
No, I was like, what? You can't, I don't. I would love to see it, but that would be. So. I was looking at something and I saw a headline that so Road Dogg gets fired from WWE when Triple H has his cardiac event, is what they're calling it. Gets fired from WWE. And he gets his severance pay, right? Apparently he spent his last dollar of that severance pay the day Triple H rehired him. That is hilarious. Apparently, the story here says the moment that his credit card swiped, he got a phone call from WWE. And he picks up the phone thinking it got declined. And it's Paul, and he's like, hello? Paul's like, hey, let's go to work. Could you imagine? Like, you're like, man, this is the last dollar of the severance pay. You swipe your card, and bam! Your best friend calls you and goes, hey, let's go to work.
That's awesome. I've always had a lot of respect for Triple H. Like when he was the Connecticut Blue Blood, nobody took him seriously. Anybody that says that they took him seriously, like, they're lying. But when he became the Game,
oh yeah, the game changed. Haha.
Yeah.
Haha. Ha 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 ha. I found that.
But
funny.
this is before the King of Kings.
Oh,
When he
no,
became
yeah,
the Game, when he was running, when he was, and I've always wanted to say this, and I think Triple H knows this, he owes his career to Shawn.
Oh yeah.
And he knows it.
So let's talk about before we get into our last segment of the show, we got to watch War Games. So I'm gonna break down some of the War Games things, and then I'm gonna break down my thoughts on the War Games match in 2022 compared to the 80s. And then I have one last discussion for this podcast before we move on. We end the ZFG Radio and we move into the stack. The women's War Games match, I know we didn't watch it together, but were you able to watch that alone, or have you not seen that yet?
The only thing I saw was the ass shot of Rhea Ripley.
All right. So some of the pros
Which
and
everybody
cons.
talked about.
Some of the pros and cons. Pros. This match started the show. This pulled the curtain. Was the women's War Games match?
Really?
Yeah.
That's horrible.
I mean, it made sense.
Okay, so you make them main event for WrestleMania, and then you put them as curtain jerkers for War Games.
Yeah, but the whole show was stacked. Like, if you actually look at the card, and I'll run down the card, and you'll understand maybe that's why it opened the show.
Yeah, but you're gonna put your War Games, a War Games match first?
It got the crowd hot. It got the crowd red hot. Because guess what followed it? AJ and Finn Balor.
That should have been semi.
Should have been the semi. I'll agree with you there. That should have been the semi-main event. Now, the pace of this match, the pace of the War Games match, the women's War Games, while it was not a 1990s cruiserweight match in pace, a lot of people liked that there was nonstop action. My problem is that there was a lot of furniture being used, whether it be tables, chairs, stuff like that. I think the whole point of the War Games match is let's handle this in the cage.
Yeah.
You know, this is also why I don't like the fact that it doesn't have a roof on it. You know, I was always a big fan of War Games having a cage and having the roof. I was always a big fan of that. Rhea Ripley looked like a monster in that match. She just seems to get bigger and stronger, meaner, nastier than anyone else in the cage. She dominated everyone as soon as she even entered it. Io Sky had an ugly botch. It seemed like her and Bianca had a spot they were going to do in the corner, and it never happened. Io looked like she was going to do it, and then just stopped. Like another spot was going to take place, and they were like, fuck this spot, we're going to go do that spot. There was a little bit of, I don't know what I'm doing here. Maybe that's a con of having too many women in the ring at one time. I don't know. I've always thought there can be some problems with multi-men/women spots, and maybe that's a problem. Not everybody is fit for a multi-man match. You agree with that statement?
Yes.
Okay. The match got 4 stars by Daddy Dave. He was more giving than I was. I gave this match 2.5 in my book. Granted, I know my ratings don't matter. I'm not Dave Meltzer. But, you know, me and him have a lot in common. We've never been in the business. Ha ha! Fuck you, Dave Meltzer. I got one on you today. So, the match got 4 stars. That's hilarious. And it wasn't even bloody, which, like, if you get blood, Dave Meltzer automatically gives you 5 stars. The next matchup, Styles versus Balor. And I'm reading a pros and cons list on this from another wrestling website called WrestlingHeadlines.com, and it says the pro is Damian Priest's hair. He wasn't even in the match. Who gives a fuck what Damian Priest looks like? My biggest con was they both came out with masks. That made no sense. AJ Styles came out with the Bullet Club mask from Bullet Club, which was cool. I understood it. And Finn Balor came out with a stupid-looking Tron mask, which I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Tron, but I don't know if you have. I don't know what movies you've seen. Tron seems a little bit out of your, like, era. Not era, but out of your, like, movie-watching list.
It's like a little kid in that era. I've never seen Tron Legacy, but I've seen the original Tron.
Now, this match was very stiff.
I played the game, too.
Oh. This match was very stiff. It was very New Japanish. Honestly, it was really... I liked this match. AJ Styles ended his 16-month pay-per-view losing streak. AJ Styles gets the win. His last win was a Crown Jewel 2019, which was 37 months ago. The crowd... I thought the crowd was hot, but a lot of people were like, oh, the crowd's dead, the crowd's dead. No, they admitted they turned the crowd down. So the crowd mic got turned down because they couldn't hear what was going on in the fucking ring. That Boston crowd was electric. Now, there was a lot of interference between the Judgment Day and the Bullet Club, so, I mean, that was kind of a con on my part. This match got 3.5 stars. AJ Styles and Finn Balor got 3.5. The women got 4. Yeah, I would have. Yeah, exactly. I would have understood the switch there. Up next, arguably the worst match on the card: Ronda Rousey versus Shotzi for the Women's SmackDown Championship. The match wasn't long. The con, the bell rang. If that bell would have never sounded and we would have got a brawl and Ronda just would have beat the shit
what
out of her.
happened? Ronda won?
Yeah, Ronda wins, but the match was horrible. So it looked like... So Ronda
anything with Ronda, anything outside of the UFC, anything in WWE, anything wrestling related, Ronda, we both know jiu-jitsu. You know more jiu-jitsu than I do. You're a Judokan as well, but you suck at wrestling.
So, Ronda Rousey's the drizzling shits right now. She wasn't selling worth a shit in this match. Shotzi was trying. The crowd kind of hijacked this match, chanting, "We want Sasha." They are in Sasha's hometown of Boston, so that's kind of what happens if you walk into Chicago and Punk's not on the card. So I understand it. Shotzi seemed to be more athletic in this match. But I don't know. The match got a 1.5 star. To me, the match got a dud. So I didn't like the match. I didn't even watch it, to be real with you. I'd seen bits and pieces because, like, when the match was on, I kind of was going to the bathroom. I did a load of dishes, you know.
That was next. Me at a WWF house show back in 98 or 99. It was Randy Orton, very young Randy Orton, versus Goldust, and I literally went to the bathroom.
So, the next match was arguably the best match on the card. And I'm not saying that because my boy won. But it was a triple threat match for the United States Championship. It was Seth freaking Rollins defending the U.S. title versus the almighty Bobby Lashley, taking on my boy, A-Town Down, Austin Theory. This match blew the roof off the place. Between Austin Theory's new aggressive side, he's not taking selfies, he's not smiling, he's not pandering to the crowd, he's going in there and whipping some ass. Seth Rollins performed like Seth Rollins does, and Bobby Lashley was a fucking monster. Austin Theory wins the match in the only believable fashion he could. Rollins hits the stomp on Bobby. Theory throws Rollins out the ring. He pins Bobby 1, 2, 3. Theory leaves as the U.S. champ. The crowd, if they're not singing Seth's entrance song at random points of the match, they're being quiet. But it wasn't a dead quiet. It was they were invested quiet, which was a weird thing for me because WWE crowds never do that. If they're quiet, it's usually because the match
not in the past like 10 years, no.
Yeah, this match, I will go on record. Anyone that ever asked me about this match, it was the best match on Survivor Series. And I'm a big Roman Reigns fan. I'm literally wearing a Roman Reigns shirt. I'm a diehard Roman Reigns fan, but I think these three men outperformed the Bloodline. The match got a 4-star rating. A lot of people are like, oh, we dig the change for Austin Theory. And I think this match was more of a character development for Theory. And then up next, the main event. War Games. The men's War Games. The Brawling Brutes, Drew McIntyre and Kevin Owens takes on the Bloodline. The entire Bloodline. This is the first time we've ever seen the entire Bloodline in a match together. This match had a big fight feel. This had a very 80s booking to it. Because you'll remember this. Back in the day of War Games, the Horsemen were tearing up the territories. And everyone's going around, well, who's going to beat them? They didn't have another faction, so they put all the baby faces together. And the baby faces aligned here. Kevin Owens comes back and he says, I want Roman. Drew goes, I want Roman. Sheamus goes, I want Roman. But we got to take out the Bloodline to get there. Butch and Ridge are all right. They're a good team. I love Butch. I hate Ridge Holland. I hope he gets hit by a car and survives.
Oh, that's horrible.
I didn't say die. I said survives. I just hope he learns how to walk and gets hit again. But anyway.
Golly, that's horrible.
It was big fight feel, but that always tends to be the case when Roman Reigns is involved these days. I feel like this was the best booked match storyline-wise, even though the teams got through together really fast. Because normally the baby faces had like a year-long feud with the Horsemen before we got to War Games. This match developed in 6 weeks. But in 6 weeks, WWE made you care to see the match. So
Well, you also talked about the fact that you didn't like that they started off in cages.
yeah, I did forget that I said that when we were watching the match. Back in the early days of War Games, guys, if you've never seen a War Games match outside of WWE, back in the day, the two teams would be lined up outside the cage waiting at the door to come in. Well, now in WWE, they put them in these like little cell cage looking things, which is cool.
Which is-
I get it.
It's
But,
stupid.
yeah, I'm not a big fan of it. Some pros for this for me: Solo Sikoa. I said it earlier in the podcast. I feel
He's shown.
yeah,
He's shown more than Roman did.
but also we haven't seen anything out of Solo before this, so
Right.
I think he needed it. Roman didn't really have to do anything in this match other than show up.
I have two spots that I absolutely loved in this match.
What was it?
It was what's his name? Sami Zayn?
Yeah.
When somebody had Roman covered.
Oh, it was Owens.
Yeah, Owens had Roman covered, and the ref goes 1, 2, and he goes down for the third, and Sami Zayn just grabs his arm and pulls it back and holds it up. I'm like, whoa. And then near the end of the match, he fucking just gives a nut shot to Kevin Owens, and Kevin Owens just falls, and he was at Jay that went up top, or Jimmy?
Yeah, it was Jay. It was Jay. So he sacrifices Owens to Jay.
Yeah, and him and Jay have been going back and forth. So he sacrificed Owens to Jay, and Jay does this like thing off the top rope, and
He does the
pins
Uso
him.
splash.
Yeah,
Call that the Uso
yeah,
splash.
and it was awesome.
My,
I'd watch that match, but it didn't really pick up until, in my opinion, until Drew McIntyre got in there, because then it was hard hitting.
Well,
you know,
yeah, because you had to get the drizzling shits in there before you got the. I mean,
Rich Hart.
They started the match out pretty hot with Butch and Jay. I thought that was a good 5-minute starter.
That was the meeting in the center was really good too.
Yeah.
What you gonna do?
Yeah, when all 10 men got in and you got the bloodline in one ring, the baby
and the over the top
camera
view
shot.
was that was awesome. That was awesome.
The whole "Let's Go to War" thing. I really love the fact that the whole Sammy sold his soul to the devil storyline is going on.
Yeah.
Because he did what Kevin Owens did to him back in Ring of Honor. He sacrificed him. But
let's talk about the ring announcer.
Oh, the chick? Oh my God, the ring announcer. So she does the War Games matches for NXT too. And the first time they had a War Games match was her first night. And apparently she asked everyone, she's like, what do I do? And Triple H said, stand out. The night starts off with a War Games match, and she goes, it's War Games! And Triple H goes, and that's how you stand out. She does a really good job. I love her NXT work. I don't know if she's going to be doing more work on the main roster. I hope so. She's a really good ring announcer. I think she'd, ever since that one guy got fired for being an idiot on Twitter, I think his name was Greg Hamilton. I loved his shit. But Mike Rome right now is the current ring announcer for Raw. So I think if SmackDown's needing something, I think they should put her on SmackDown. So
Really, really quick before I forget, because we haven't talked about this at all, and this has nothing to do with WWE, but is a former WWF employee. Apparently, New Japan Pro Wrestling commentator Kevin Kelly is starting his own company.
Kevin Kelly is partnered up with another wrestling promotion. Actually, I'll pull that out real fast. Give me 1 second. I'll pull that up. New Japan Pro Wrestling announcer, former WWF commentator Kevin Kelly is embarking on a new adventure in the wrestling industry. On November 13, Kelly announced via Twitter he is involved in a brand new promotion called American Excellence Wrestling. The event will take place Saturday, January 7, and will emanate from the historic Hamburg Fieldhouse in Pennsylvania. In his tweet, Kelly also revealed the logo for his upstart promotion. The words American X Wrestling are on display. The American flag featured inside the X following his big announcement. A fan asked Kelly if he'd be doing commentary for his events. Kelly said no, noting they'll be focusing on live events to start. However, he seems open to sitting at the announce desk when things get cranked up. The funny part is this was a big WWE venue, because they ran this venue for a number of years from 79 to 85. Bob Backlund, Andre the Giant main evented this arena multiple times back in the early 80s. So
now you're talking my language.
Yeah. So this could be
historic,
special. Yeah, I don't know what he has planned for. Actually, I'm going to just Google this promotion and see if anything has came out of it, seeing as how their first show is January 7th, which is a month from now. They do have a Facebook page. If you look up American Excellence Wrestling. Colby Carino will be fighting John Schuyler. The event is called For the People. Tickets start at $5 right now if you go to axwtix.com. Tony Evans will be there. Ricardo Rodriguez will be there. John Schuyler. Christina Marie. Guys that will be at the event. There was an event December 3rd, actually, called the Contest of Champions. Guys like Colby Covington, Sting, Jerry the King Lawler, Zack Ryder, Eddie Edwards, Sergeant Slaughter, Brian Myers, Nick Aldis, the American Wolves, Tommy Dreamer, Mahalabi Shira showed up. Whoa. So apparently Colby Covington and John Schuyler might be a no disqualification match. So
cool.
I'm kind of excited for this, to be honest with you. I didn't even think about that. That was a good job. Of
course, it's me.
I can't wait for this, actually. I hope they do something special, because I'd like to actually have another alternative outside of AEW and WWE and New Japan.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, some New Japan news came out a couple of weeks back following a show that they did where Will Ospreay defended the IWGP United States Heavyweight Championship against Red Shoes' son, Shota Umino. Will Ospreay successfully defended the IWGP United States Heavyweight Championship, and then immediately a promo would be cut by Kenny Omega, announcing that at Wrestle
in Japanese.
Cuts the entire promo in Japanese.
In the whole thing. I watched the entire thing.
Announcing that at Wrestle Kingdom, the match is finally happening. Kenny Omega, Will Ospreay for the IWGP United States Championship, January 4, and I'm off that night.
Here's the thing is that no matter what happens, whether that belt goes on Kenny or stays on Will, that puts heat on the belt.
Oh, yeah. Well, I got some personal stuff I got to take care of as some things are happening in an emergency fashion. So with that said, I'm going to have to cut this podcast a little short. I do apologize. I'm having an emergency situation take place. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.